Margaret didn't think much of the cramp in her calf. It was just a twinge, sharp, sudden, and gone in seconds. At 72, she'd grown used to little aches and stiffness, especially in the mornings. But that day was different. As she reached for her teacup, the pain came back, twice as intense. And this time, it didn't let go. Her legs seized, her knees buckled, and she collapsed to the kitchen floor, the teacup shattering beside her. She lay there for minutes, unable to move, her muscles locked, her breath short. Her husband found her, pale and trembling, whispering, "It's just a cramp, I think." But when they reached the emergency room, the doctors didn't brush it off. They ran tests, electrolytes, nerve responses, circulation scans. Margaret had no heart condition, no stroke, no injury. What they found shocked them: a severe deficiency in essential nutrients, specifically magnesium, potassium, and B12, which regulate muscle contractions, nerve signals, and oxygen flow. Her body had been warning her for weeks. The leg cramps at night, the tingling in her feet, the fatigue. But like many seniors, she had no idea that a silent deficiency could lead to such a dramatic collapse. Doctors explained that as we age, our ability to absorb nutrients drops. Even if we eat okay, our gut often doesn't pull in what it used to, especially when we take medications like acid reducers or blood pressure pills. Margaret's case wasn't rare. It was just untreated. This video walks you through the exact deficiencies that caused her collapse and how you can fix them starting today. Because what happened to her could happen to any of us. And it all begins with the muscle in your leg that's trying to tell you something. As Margaret lay in the hospital bed, her leg still aching, the attending physician leaned in gently and said, "You didn't collapse because of age. You collapsed because your body has been trying to get your attention for months." The words struck her harder than the fall. Like most seniors, Margaret thought leg cramps were just part of getting older, but the doctor explained it differently. Cramps are your muscles screaming for help, and when you ignore them, they scream louder until they take you down. He began listing the warning signs: frequent night cramps, tingling in the toes, fatigue that doesn't go away, and occasional dizziness after standing up. All of these, he said, pointed to underlying electrolyte and vitamin deficiencies that are common in people over 60, but rarely discussed. The most dangerous part? These symptoms creep in slowly. One day, it's a cramp. A week later, it's a fall. And by the time you realize it's serious, you're on the ground, he said. Margaret's blood work revealed low levels of magnesium, potassium, and vitamin B12, 3 nutrients that form the foundation of proper muscle function. Magnesium relaxes your muscles after they contract. Potassium helps muscles contract in the first place, and B12 ensures the nerves can deliver signals clearly. Without enough of these, your muscles go into chaos mode, contracting randomly, failing to recover, and eventually seizing under pressure. The doctor emphasized something powerful. You don't need a pharmacy, you need a kitchen. With the right foods and a few key habits, Margaret could not only reverse the deficiency, but build her strength back stronger than it had been in years. That was the moment Margaret decided to change everything, and it started with understanding what her body had been begging for. Margaret's first lesson was about magnesium, a mineral she'd barely heard of, but which her doctor called the muscle whisperer. Most people think of magnesium as just another supplement, but to your body, especially past age 60, it's a lifeline. Without enough magnesium, muscles can't relax after they contract. That means every step, stretch, or movement builds tension. And that tension can suddenly snap into a painful cramp. It's like driving a car without brakes, the doctor explained. The muscle locks up, and boom, you're on the floor. Magnesium also regulates calcium and potassium, 2 other minerals crucial for muscle balance. When magnesium is low, Calcium can flood into muscle cells uncontrollably, triggering spasms. Add in dehydration or stress, and cramps hit harder. Margaret's tests showed her magnesium levels were dangerously low, yet she'd never been told to monitor it. No doctor, no wellness check, just years of silent depletion. So how do seniors become deficient? The culprits are everywhere. Antacids, diuretics, blood pressure meds, and even processed foods strip the body of magnesium. Aging intestines absorb less of it, and because the body doesn't store magnesium well, daily intake is crucial. Margaret's doctor gave her a list. Leafy greens like spinach, avocados, pumpkin seeds, almonds, and black beans, foods rich in magnesium that help prevent nighttime cramps and promote restful sleep. For Margaret, the biggest surprise was that something so simple could have stopped the collapse. She began adding seeds to her breakfast, a handful of almonds after dinner, and leafy greens to every plate. Within a week, the nighttime cramping eased. Within a month, she could walk further without fear. Magnesium wasn't a magic pill. It was a quiet fix, one that every senior needs to hear about before their body screams like hers did. When Margaret asked the doctor what made her legs suddenly lock up that morning, he didn't mention nerves or joints first. He said via one word, potassium. Without it, he said, your muscles forget how to move. They cramp, they shake, and sometimes they drop you. That was the second wake-up call. Potassium is an electrolyte, a mineral that carries electrical charges inside the body. Muscles need those charges to contract and relax. Without enough potassium, signals between nerves and muscles go haywire. One moment you're steady, the next your calf spasms like it has a mind of its own. It doesn't take much to tip the balance. Just a day or two of poor diet, excess sweating, or a diuretic pill, and potassium tanks. Margaret learned that seniors are particularly vulnerable. Why? Because they often eat less potassium-rich food, like bananas, sweet potatoes, and oranges. On top of that, blood pressure medications and water pills flush potassium out of the system. Her doctor explained it like a bucket with a hole. If you're not constantly refilling it, your muscles pay the price. He handed her a small card. Eat 1 banana a day, add a baked potato a few times a week, and sip coconut water when you can. That's simple. Not a prescription, just a habit. And almost immediately, Margaret noticed fewer twitches in her legs at night. She even started walking her garden again without gripping the fence for support. But potassium wasn't just about cramp prevention. It also supported her heart rhythm, blood pressure, and fluid balance. Her energy returned. Her sleep deepened. She began feeling like herself again. What scared her most wasn't the fall. It was how long she'd gone without knowing why it was coming. Potassium was the difference between standing tall and collapsing without warning. Margaret thought vitamins were just for extra energy, but her collapse revealed something far more serious. The doctor showed her blood work and said, "Your B12 levels are dangerously low, and that's likely why your legs gave out." B12 wasn't just another supplement. It was the link between her brain and her body. Without it, nerves misfire, muscles cramp, feet tingle, and sometimes they go numb. Vitamin B12 plays a crucial role in forming the myelin sheath, the protective coating around your nerves. Without enough of it, nerves can't transmit messages properly. That means the signal telling your leg to contract might never arrive. Or worse, the signal to relax might fail, leaving muscles stiff, painful, and frozen in place. The problem is, B12 becomes harder to absorb as we age. Seniors like Margaret often develop a condition called atrophic gastritis, where the stomach produces less acid, making it difficult to extract B12 from food. Add in medications like metformin, acid reducers, or reduced intake of meat and dairy, and deficiency becomes almost inevitable. Margaret remembered how her legs had felt in recent months. buzzing, tingling, sometimes like they weren't even part of her. She'd blamed it on bad circulation, but now she understood it was her nerves crying for B12. Her doctor recommended foods like eggs, dairy, salmon, and even fortified cereals. But he also advised a B12 supplement, especially sublingual drops or injections, since they bypass the stomach. Within 2 weeks of boosting her B12, the tingling faded. Her legs felt more responsive. Her gait steadied. It wasn't dramatic like a drug. It was like slowly regaining control of her own body. What nearly took her down wasn't age, it was invisible starvation, and it started in her nerves long before the fall. Margaret left the hospital with no pills, no surgery, just a shopping list. Her doctor circled 5 foods and said, "Eat these like your strength depends on it, because it does." For the first time in years, she felt hopeful. Not because of what medicine could do, but because of what food could restore. At the top of the list were eggs. High in B12, protein, and vitamin D, they became her breakfast staple. She scrambled them with a bit of spinach, a magnesium powerhouse. Next were bananas, rich in potassium and magnesium. One in the morning, sometimes another before bed. Then came pumpkin seeds, which she sprinkled on salads or stirred into yogurt. With nearly 40% of her daily magnesium in just 1 ounce, they became her go-to snack. Her doctor also recommended avocados, loaded with healthy fats and potassium. Margaret had never eaten them much before, but now she mashed them on toast, stirred them into smoothies, and even added them to soups. Lastly, salmon, for both B12 and anti-inflammatory omega-3s. Twice a week, grilled with lemon and olive oil. She didn't change everything overnight. She didn't need to. It was the consistency, the daily rebalancing, that started healing her body. Her cramps became less frequent. The tingling faded. Her posture improved. She no longer feared the steps outside her porch or the cold tile of the kitchen floor. The real surprise was emotional. With each meal, Margaret felt like she was rebuilding herself. Not just her muscles, but her confidence, her control. These foods weren't just nutrients. They were medicine in disguise, available at every grocery store, hidden in plain sight. She didn't just get her legs back. She got her life back, one bite at a time. By the time a month had passed, Margaret wasn't just eating better, she was moving differently. Her doctor had told her, food builds the foundation, routine locks it in. So she created a simple morning and evening plan, not just to heal, but to prevent another collapse. Each morning began with a glass of warm water and lemon, to hydrate and activate digestion. Then came a banana and 2 boiled eggs. Sometimes she'd have spinach and nuts added to a light omelet. That meal alone hit potassium, magnesium, B12, and protein, all before 9 a.m. After breakfast, she walked for 10 minutes. Not for exercise, but to help circulation deliver those nutrients to her muscles and nerves faster. Lunch became her magnesium booster, a bowl with quinoa, leafy greens, avocado, and pumpkin seeds drizzled with olive oil. Dinner included a protein source, often grilled salmon or chicken, with steamed vegetables and a small sweet potato. She swapped coffee for herbal tea and kept coconut water nearby to gently replenish electrolytes. But it was her evening routine that made the biggest difference. Around 8 p.m., she'd eat half a banana with almond butter, drink a small glass of water, and stretch gently before bed. Calves, hamstrings, lower back. "I used to go to bed hoping not to cramp," she said. "Now I go to bed knowing I won't." She kept a chart by the fridge: water intake, meals, supplements. It wasn't obsessive, it was empowering. Every tick marked progress. And most important of all, she listened to her body. If her legs felt tight, she added magnesium. If her energy dipped, she checked her B12. Her fear of falling faded, not because her age changed, but because her habits did. Margaret's strength didn't return by luck. It came through rhythm, and rhythm is something every senior can build. Margaret had been diligent with her health. She took her blood pressure pills, her acid reflux medication, and a diuretic for swelling. But what no one ever told her was that those same prescriptions meant to help were slowly draining the nutrients her body depended on. Her doctor explained it bluntly. Some medications fix one problem, but quietly cause another. You didn't collapse from bad luck. You collapsed from depletion. The biggest offenders, diuretics, which flush out fluid but also wash away potassium and magnesium. Over time, this causes cramps, dizziness, and even fainting. Proton pump inhibitors, PPIs, like the one Margaret took for heartburn, reduce stomach acid. While this eases reflux, it also blocks the absorption of vitamin B12, leading to nerve damage and muscle weakness. The same went for metformin, a common diabetes drug, which depletes both B12 and magnesium. No one had ever connected the dots for her. Margaret had spent years wondering why she felt more tired, why her legs twitched at night, why her hands tingled after meals. Now she knew. Her medications weren't the villain, but they needed to be balanced with nutrition and monitored more closely. With her doctor's help, she adjusted her doses, added targeted supplements, and timed her meals for better absorption. For example, she took magnesium in the evening when cramps usually struck. She took B12 mid-morning, away from her acid blocker, to give her body a better shot at absorbing it. For the first time, she saw her prescriptions and nutrition as a team, not rivals. And she realized this was a conversation too few seniors were having. The collapse wasn't just a warning from her body. It was a message. Your meds might be helping you live longer, but you must feed yourself to live stronger. In her follow-up appointment, Margaret asked the question that had been haunting her. Why didn't anyone catch this earlier? Her doctor paused. Because we treat symptoms, not signals. And your cramps were a signal. One nature had been sending for months. The truth is, many seniors suffer from leg cramps, fatigue, and numbness. But these symptoms are often dismissed. They're labeled as normal aging or written off as dehydration, but behind those symptoms often lies something fixable, deficiencies in magnesium, potassium, or B12, and not a single drug in the cabinet can replace what real food and balance provide. Doctors aren't ignoring the problem. They're just not trained to think nutritionally. Margaret's own collapse had shown her that the solution wasn't more medication. It was restoring what her body was quietly losing every day. We don't need more pills, she told a friend. We need better habits. She began to share her story in her community center, and what shocked her most was how many others had similar experiences: mystery cramps, odd tingling, unexplained exhaustion. They too had never been told that something as basic as a handful of almonds or an egg in the morning could help turn things around. The body speaks in small discomforts before it ever screams. Cramps, poor sleep, balance issues, these are not just aging. They are nature's alerts, letting us know we're running low. Margaret began to trust her body more, learning that strength didn't come from resistance. It came from listening. And when she listened closely, she realized everything her body needed was already around her. In her kitchen, in her choices, in nature. It wasn't too late. It never is, if you listen before the collapse. Margaret never forgot the sound her body made when it collapsed. Not the thud, not the shatter of porcelain, but the silence after, the stillness of realizing that something simple had failed her. Her strength, her balance, her trust in her own body. And now, months later, she stood taller, steadier, and stronger. Not because of any miracle drug, but because she started doing the little things every senior should do, starting tonight. First, hydrate. Before bed and upon waking, she drinks a full glass of water. Dehydration is the forgotten cause of cramps, and fixing it is as easy as filling a glass. Second, night nutrition. Around an hour before sleep, she eats half a banana with a few almonds. This combo provides potassium, magnesium, B6, and healthy fats, crucial for overnight muscle repair. Third, stretch. Just 5 minutes of slow, gentle leg stretches before bed releases built-up tension, improves blood flow, and reduces nerve irritation that leads to cramps. Fourth, supplement wisely. With her doctor's guidance, Margaret takes a low-dose magnesium tablet and sublingual B12. Not all seniors need pills, but many need just a little help bridging the gap between food and function. Fifth, track the signs. She now pays attention to tiny warnings, twitches, tingles, fatigue. Not with fear, but with respect. Her body, she learned, wasn't betraying her. It was begging her to listen. So if you're a senior or loved one, don't wait for the collapse. Start with small steps, a better breakfast, more leafy greens, a little less salt, and a lot more awareness. Your legs carry you through life, but they need fuel. They need minerals, and more than anything, they need someone to finally listen. Because staying on your feet starts with standing up for your health.